This is David Duke, broadcasting to the world on web radio. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to the program a very great man from the nation of France, an individual who has been an academic at the University of Lyon and elsewhere. He has been elected to the French National Assembly as well as the European Parliament, and he has steadfastly stood up for the survival and the preservation of our European heritage and values. He has worked very diligently against this insane immigration policy, which has a real threat to the future of Europe. And he has courageously worked on freedom of speech issues vital to the people of Europe, and issues of national freedom, the fact that every place and every nation really has the right and the equality of nations to run its own affairs and have its own values and strength. I want to welcome to the program a really great patriot for France, for Europe, and for Europeans everywhere, Bruno Gollnisch. Welcome to the program, Bruno.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure, David.
And let's just go right into it. I'd like to first let you give to our listeners a little bit of your history. I know some of your academic history, and then your involvement in the Front National, your election to office, and how long you've been serving in an elected capacity.
Well, professionally speaking, I dedicated my work to the study and practice of comparative law. I was a lecturer at the Institute of Comparative Law at the University of Paris, and I created the teaching about Far Eastern legal systems, mainly China and Japan. I had spent some time in Japan preparing for my law doctorate. And I was, together with that, I was an attorney. I've been an attorney at law, and I ceased practicing when I was elected at the French Parliament in 1986, so already a lot of time. A long time ago. I spent only 2.5 years in the Assemblée Nationale, which is our law chamber that is more or less like the House of Representatives in the United States. Since it was dissolved by Mitterrand when he began his second term as French president. And afterwards, I was elected in 1989 in the European Parliament, always with the Front National of Jean-Marie Le Pen. And we've been working, it's already 20 years, 19 years exactly, it will be 20 years next year, in this European Parliament, together with other French members of this Parliament, and also German, Italian, Flemish, that is, members elected from the northern part of Belgium, Italians, British, Bulgarians recently, and I hope Polish members who will join us. And Austrian also, I was forgetting Austrian, very important, the Freedom Party of Austria. And we consider basically that Europe has been in world history. Europe in itself geographically is a rather small place. It's a small peninsula at the end of the enormous Asian continent. But it has been the place where has been invented several hundreds, even thousand years ago, this concept of equality and freedom of nations, either big or small. Each nation has something to say in world history, and we do think that this concept of nation has still something to do and to say to men and women already today. That is, it is the largest place where people can find their common points, very often common language, common traditions, common hopes, common sufferings, and where they can decide who will govern them, and they will know the people who govern them. And if it is a democracy, they will have the possibility, if they are not satisfied with the way they are governed, to change these people. And also, all these nations are under international law, are equal in dignity. Even the small Luxembourg is equal to France, or to the enormous China, and the small Estonia, for example, is equal to its large neighbor Russia, and I don't know, Nicaragua toward the United States, or things like that. And we want to keep this concept and these freedoms alive, and we have to fight, unfortunately, against the globalist pressure, altogether financial, political, either open or secret. Enormous pressure of globalists who wants to destroy these identities, peculiar identities of all nations, for a kind of a world civilization and world power that will get rid of all national identity, and who doesn't want any difference between nations, between cultures, between civilizations, between religions, between sovereignties, in order to install a power that will destroy this freedom.
Of course, when this difference is legislated and enforced by a supranational power, then the freedom of all the other peoples of the world, every nation in the world, other than this globalist entity, the freedom of all the people to do what they want, to have the kind of government they want, the kind of culture they want, the kind of society they want, the kind of laws they want, the kind of values they want, their freedom, of course, must be trampled upon.
Yes, that's exactly the point. And unfortunately, that's what we are seeing now in the European Parliament. We should be the voice of people, and was very, very sensitive to this pressure. Unfortunately, there is this trend under the name of great ideals, theoretically human rights and things like that, but in fact they do not really defend the interests of the people.
Tell me about some of the immigration issues facing Europe, and how big of an impact is immigration making upon both France and the rest of Europe, and do you see it as a real threat to the continued heritage of the respective nations of Europe?
Yes, because, for example, the European Union is built as is based under the principles of the freedom of transit, circulation, movement, freedom of movement, and even of settlement, which is very important for persons, for fundings, money, and goods too, merchandise. And this freedom can bring some benefit if it is within the European countries. It was already extraordinary that after so many wars, all French who want to settle in Germany, they can do it if they want, and all Germans who want to settle in France, they can freely do it. They do not need to asking for a visa, for a special permission. With the identity card, it's enough. But and in fact, they don't move by millions because the Germans feel themselves quite comfortable in Germany and the French in France. Mm-hmm. But when you open these borders, these European borders around Union to the whole world, and you have massive immigration of non-European people, mm-hmm. and which is quite understandable. These people are looking for better condition of life. In French was nearly